It's a wonderful spring day today, so I've decided to come out to Harrogate and do the Nidd Gorge walk, something I've wanted to do all year. In fact, this might be the first time I've come to Harrogate in 2023. It's not somewhere I come very often, occasionally for work and sometimes to visit St Wilfrid's Church, the great Temple Moor church just north of the town centre. But today I've come even further north of the town centre and I've walked to a place called Bilton, which is actually older than Harrogate town itself, I believe. And it has a wonderful parish church dedicated to St John, which was built by the eminent architect George Gilbert Scott, consecrated in 1857, I believe. A wonderful use of different coloured sandstones on the exterior. And then, like I say, I've come to do the Nidd Gorge walk. So, having left Bilton, we go and join the Harrogate Ringway, and then onto the Nidd Gorge Trail, which winds alongside the River Nidd back into Knaresborough. Now, on the way, we're going to be looking at the church at Bilton, as I say, but first of all, I want to take you around Harrogate very briefly. Now, I'm not going to be looking at St Wilfrid's Church, the Temple Moor building I just mentioned. I'm not going to be looking in that in any detail today. That is deserving of its own video entirely, so I might do that in the future if you're interested in watching that. I think that would be really good fun to make. But to begin with, let's have a little look around Harrogate town centre. So Harrogate really gets a lot of attention in the 1950s Wardlock Red Guide, with only a passing reference to its ancient history, probably because it's overshadowed by the more historic towns in the area around it. But the Wardlock Guide gives a sense of the rise in visitors to the town at the time it was written. On page 21 it states, "The town is gaining greater attention from holidaymakers who do not need spa treatment, but who do seek a good bracing air and a bright, well-ordered resort." I don't know much about how these guides were put together, but you get the sense when reading it that the guides are being used to play up the attractions here. It says that many people are under the impression that because Harrogate is a spa, it is crowded with invalids in bath chairs and on crutches, and that a general air of resignation pervades the place. Nothing could be further from the truth, for while Harrogate does cater for and heal thousands of visitors in the course of a year, the general atmosphere is one of cheerful prosperity. This is all essentially corroborated by Ella Pontefract, the great writer of Yorkshire life in the first half of the 20th century. In the late 1930s, Ella describes the crowds of well-dressed people, large, smart hotels, and far fewer men at the time standing with bath chairs for hire. There's lots of shops and schools, and it's landscaped, and has lovely flowered gardens. Today, Harrogate is still very smart. It has a famous Betty's Tea Room, the other one is in York, and there's another one somewhere else, and probably more. I think that it has some well-known theatres, but I don't know much about what the situation is with its spas today. But I imagine you can still get some sort of treatment here, if it's only just over the counter. Now, as we're going around Bilton, north of the town, you'll actually reach the Nidd Viaduct, which obviously goes over the River Nidd, but it's at this point that the footpath converges with a loud helicopter, but it will also converge with the National Cycle Network, number 67. And then if you follow that even further round, by the time you reach Knaresborough, I think at some point we have to then get onto the trail of another cycle network, which I think is called the Beryl Burton Way, or the Beryl Burton Cycle Trail, or something like that. But Beryl Burton was a famous local athlete with associations in Knaresborough and Harrogate. So I'll put a little bit of something up about Beryl Burton on the screen. Off the top of my head, I can't remember, which is to my real shame, unfortunately. But yeah, we'll continue following it round, and then I forgot to say that when we get to Knaresborough, of course, we'll have a look at the fantastic Grade 1 listed parish church. Well, I had no idea that the landscape down here on the River Nidd, this part between Bilton and Knaresborough, was so dramatic. I've read about it in books, but I just hadn't believed it, and now I've come here and can see it with my own eyes. It is really incredible. So this gorge was cut through sandstone, and that's why the banks have that really, really great coloured and really brittle sandstone on the north and south banks. But yeah, the wildlife down here is brilliant. It's Woodland Trust, they help maintain it, or it might just be theirs, this stretch. But yeah, there's a lot of ongoing work here, some tree felling. But it's so well maintained, and I imagine in summer that this is a truly beautiful place. I mean, this is just incredible on a really nice spring day towards the end of March. But yeah, it's amazing. Love it. Just up here on the south bank, I've spotted this outcrop of flat-bedded sandstone, which is proper gorge geology. I actually can't see much of it. A lot of it's covered by earth and a lot of tree growth and undergrowth, but yeah, it really springs out here. The bedding patterns, bedding formation is quite nice. That's sort of eroded away to reveal quite a nice cross section. And I guess down here, just off the footpath, these are all bits of the earth which have come out. Sorry, bits of the stone. So yeah, that's quite coarse sandstone. Beautiful, really. Lovely, rich colour. Hope you can see that. Yeah, it's all up the side. Yeah, anyway, on we go. Now here I've got the Pevsner's Guide for the West Riding, one of the old editions, and just it occurred to me, I remember reading something about St John's Church in Bilton. Now bearing in mind that this was written decades ago, a very long time ago, it actually says that inside the church there are 3 Anglo-Saxon stones. One is a crosshead, the second is part of a shaft with 2 standing figures and a long-necked beast, the third a square block with a group of 3 figures. They're all probably 10th or 11th century. Now, I completely forgot to look for those, but I know that the church was quite busy and full of people after a service anyway, but I'm going to have to go back and see if they're still there. I'm not sure if they are still there, because I've never heard of them before, and they sound quite impressive if they've got carved figures and beasts on them and things. But yeah, interesting. It just occurred to me whilst we were walking back to Knaresborough. Maybe I'll put some pictures in if I can find some online.
Into that field there and it disappeared.
So the route which I'm taking back is the Harrogate Ringway. We're back on it, the 636. So I've just walked past Bilton Hall and we're coming east along here, and we're going to join the road going over High Bridge. And there's the railway station and there's the parish church. So this is the information board and memorial plaque to Beryl Burton, and marking the beginning, or the end I suppose, of the Beryl Burton cycleway, just as you walk along the River Nidd into Knaresborough. Now coming off the Harrogate Ringway, we're at Mother Shipton's Cave. It is Mother's Day today, so that's quite fitting I suppose. And there is High Bridge, with the World's End pub at the end, never been in. And there's the parish church, where we'll have a look before going home. So St John's Church is a really great place to finish the walk today. It's the crowning glory of medieval Knaresborough, by far the largest medieval standing building in the town, especially compared to the castle, which is near ruinous as far as castles go. But the church is fantastic. It is late medieval largely, although bits of the crossing tower and a southeast chapel, as seen here, are 12th century and a little bit later, although with quite a significant amount of rebuilding. It's a really spacious, great town church, and one that you should absolutely see. Really high nave arcade piers here, these pews as well. Surprised they haven't got rid of those, but won't put any ideas in their heads. It's a really usable space and they use it really well. And the monuments here in the Slingsby Chapel on the north side of the church are wonderful things as well. The earliest one, just ahead of where I'm walking there, just seen here, this one is dated to 1602. This is Francis de Slingsby and his wife, a great tomb chest with monuments. And there's all sorts of varieties in here. There's hatchments on the ceiling, cartouche monuments on the wall, and here's a really interesting one. So there ends the walk at St John's Church in Knaresborough. Just a quick look inside, but I hope you enjoyed some of those clips. And I don't know where we're going to go next weekend. Maybe the East Riding again. So yeah, maybe see you next time.